we're making 2,000 candles a day. It sounds like a lot, but in candle world, we're a small company. We are puny. Like we're a team of about 40 people. We're making the candles. We're shipping the candles. We're responding to customers. We don't have AI doing that. We don't have someone overseas doing that. Like we do almost all of it, just the 40 of us. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a little village to make that happen.
You're listening to The People of Work, the podcast that dives into the real stories behind what people do for a living and how work shapes who we are. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The People of Work with your host, Amy Graves, and my friend and owner of the antique candle company, Brittany Whitenack. Brittany, thank you so much for being here. Can't wait to dig in, learn all about you, hear your story.
I'm so excited to be here, Amy. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say for the listeners that oftentimes I find guests through just previous interactions I've had with people or people that I know that are in my circle or sphere for some reason. Brittany, I just want to share, has been kind enough. I reached out to her, completely out of the blue and just said, hey, I see you in your entrepreneurship journey and I have all the questions that I want to learn from you. I reached out, asked for coffee. We met up. It was such a great conversation. I just loved everything about it. I mean, the way you shared, just who you are personally, you're a woman of faith. I think it's awesome. So I'm just so excited to have you here because now I feel like everything that I got to learn about you and that day when we met for coffee, you get to share with the world and all your followers and all my listeners and who knows where it'll go. So thanks again, Brittany. I appreciate you being here.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, such a fun conversation. Yeah. I'll get coffee anytime. If anyone wants to get coffee, I'll go. Yes.
Yeah, right. That's right. We know, right? You are the owner of the antique candle company. And we're going to get to all the kind of cool, fun things you're doing with that. But I want to rewind a little bit and kind of take it back. So Brittany, talk to me a little bit about what the conversation was like in your home growing up around work. What examples did you have? Were you thinking about, what you wanted to be when you grow up? Kind of what was that dynamic like?
I grew up in a household with 4 younger brothers and then my mom and my dad. I would say the story we told ourselves as a family and the story I told myself as a little girl was work is so important. Having a good work ethic is important. My dad was a Radio Shack manager and he worked at Radio Shack until their end days. And he worked so hard for that company. And I just remember these moments where he would come home and he would talk about work, his boss, the things he was doing with so much admiration and excitement. He never came home and said like, work sucked today or work is terrible. Or, I'm so upset about this. He just really had such a positive posture around work. And so did my mom, mostly a stay-at-home mom, but even my grandparents. And then I'll never forget my first job was at Subway. I was a sandwich artist. I'll never forget getting my first paycheck. And I remember just getting so, I don't know if addicted is the right word, but like, this is awesome. I have my own money as a 16-year-old. Now I can go to Hollister and buy a shirt that I want to buy. And I don't have to go to Kohl's for back to school shopping.
And then my mom refuses to buy it because it's too expensive, right?
Yes. So yeah, definitely a positive posture towards work for sure. And I still have that today.
I love your dad's take or your interpretation of your dad's take on work because I have similar experiences. My dad often just a very hard worker, owned his own business, kind of instilled in us that grit. It's what we call it around our home today. And I talk to my kids about having a work ethic and my dad too. We still talk about that word. It really, that word seems to be the word that we all kind of circle around. It's just grit, right? You have a commitment level to your work that doesn't feel burdensome. It's just kind of part of who you are, right?
Absolutely.
I love that.
Great word. Grit.
It starts young. It
It totally does.
Thanks, Dad. And thank you, Radio Shack. We appreciate that. We cannot forget either the stay-at-home mom of 5 kids. Please. I mean, I just listen. I mean, no harder job than raising kids, first of all, and then raising them as a stay-at-home mom of 5 children.
Yes.
Huge undertaking, right?
And I have to give her credit too, because a lot of my dad's work was commission-based being at Radio Shack. So when there was a not great year or wasn't a great economy, my mom would watch the 5 kids growing up And then dad would get home and then she would go to work. Like Maya used to have a pizza part of their grocery store. She would go there. She did that for years, would work at the schools. So yeah, sometimes, yes, she did it.
It's
She
like
was
grit. It's doing what you got to do, right?
doing what you gotta do.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about Subway. You're the sandwich artist. This is your first job. You're making your money. It's great. Were you thinking about as a teenager what you wanted to be, what you wanted to do? Was college like something you were, I'm definitely going, or was it talked about in your home?
I think when I was 16, I thought there'd be a good potential I'd go to college. No one in my family, at least before me, the generations before me, had made it to college and graduated. So if I did go to college, it was going to be kind of a new thing. It wasn't a regular talking point in the household growing up. But at some point, I decided to apply to a few colleges. I applied to Purdue University, Indiana Wesleyan University, and the Ivy Tech campus in Lafayette. I was accepted to all three and decided to go to Purdue. At the time when I was in high school, I was in like the TV production class. So we had like morning news by students. And I thought that maybe I wanted to go into TV production or news. I found that so fun. And I think the degree I applied at Purdue was a communication major. I was planning on being an employee for sure. There are no entrepreneurs in my family. There's a few that had their own businesses, but it was more solopreneur. They owned some real estate and they were renting, not with employees, not a full-blown enterprise by any means. So yeah, I was thinking maybe TV news anchor, TV production, maybe a social studies teacher.
Very few of us really know when we're 16. We're just like, we've got this like cafeteria plan of options that we think we want to explore. And then you learn about those careers and then you kind of take a gamble. Not everybody says, I want to be a pediatrician when I grow up, or right. And that's what we go do. So okay. So you decided Purdue, you were accepted into Purdue. You picked a major, you start college. Talk to me about it.
Purdue was so incredible, Amy. I love that campus. I love the energy. I still live in Lafayette to this day. When I was a student, I switched my major more than one time. So through that journey, I realized I was really interested in this notion of business. I had worked at some small businesses. Then I started taking some business classes, accounting, marketing, operations, business law. And for the most part, I found them really interesting, like just the basics of all the things of business. So that's what I ended up graduating with, was a business degree. I ended up meeting my husband at Purdue University too. We both graduated around the same time. And I took a job as an assistant store manager for a super Target in the Chicagoland area. So I ended up leaving Lafayette and we moved to Chicago.
So talk to me about that. I think that this is a really good perspective because number one, I mean, you want some really hands-on, like first job out of college business experience. Choose one of the biggest retailers in the nation, yes. Right? So talk to me about your experience there.
Target is amazing. They give you 10% off as an employee, plus an extra 5% off everything at Target with your Target Red Card. Like that was amazing, getting 15% off Target. I had worked Subway and then at Eli Lilly as a high school intern, and then had 2 jobs in college. I worked at Plato's Closet, and then I worked at a library. So I had worked while going to school from 16 to 22. And so this idea and this thought of, man, I could just focus on work and look at this big girl pay. But when I was there, the expectation was 50 hours a week, work retail, did that, talk to people all day, totally can do that. Get 50% off, work with a lot of people. It was great in so many ways. But as a 22-year-old, fresh out of college, managing a team of over 70 people in a Target store, having very...
At 22, let's just... 22 years old, responsible for managing 70 people.
70 people.
Yeah.
Yes. And the expectation was to open the store once a day and close the store once a day. So when you're the opener, you're getting there at like 5:30. And when you're the closer, you're not getting out till after midnight. So as a newlywed in a new city, 22 years old, managing a team of 70, it just was overwhelming. The emotions I felt at the time were disillusionment, deep sadness, and just failure or not good enough.
Was the deep sadness because you felt overworked or emotionally drained? Or was it, I don't think I'm meeting expectations, or a combination of
Yeah,
both?
I think in all facets of my life, everything was
Yeah.
new and it was overwhelming. So kind of being a wife for the first time, moving to a new city, meeting new coworkers, managing a team of 70. And I really struggled with kind of finding my footing and then hitting the success factors, the KPIs in the workplace. And when you feel like you're just not able to pull it off, at least in my case, I started to look inward and like, what's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. Why can't I figure this out? Or is this just what it's like to be an adult and this is the job to get the salary? Like you have all this really interesting dialogue. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't do this. And this is what the next 45 years looks like. And that just overwhelming deep sadness. I mean, I am so upset. I didn't know what to do with it, Amy. I did that for about maybe a year. I was able to make it work. And I remember talking to my husband at the time, and luckily he had a good job too. The only thing I could think to do at the time is like, I just got to escape. I got to get out. And I just quit without any job lined up. I walked into my boss's office, gave him my resignation letter. I worked out my 2 or 3 weeks, and then I didn't have a job.
A couple thoughts just come to me with that. Number one, were your parents like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because I
Yeah.
can tell you, there's a
Yes.
couple of points in my life where I have quit my job and to do other things, whatever the
Sure.
reason. And one of them, I didn't have a job lined up. And my dad literally said to me, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you quitting working at
Yeah.
Disney World or Disneyland?" I wasn't actually at Disneyland. I was in
Yeah.
the NCAA at the time. But in his mind, there was no better place on the planet. They've got benefits. They paid for all your insurance premiums. Like those are the kinds of thoughts, right? And so
Yes.
he literally said those words to me, which made me think, oh shit, is he right? Have I lost my mind? Leaving here. But this is a done decision. I didn't consult
Yeah.
you, Dad, before I made that grown up call, you know? So you've got those kinds of thoughts. And then you're also like,
Yes.
I can't imagine your boss is like, are you sure, Brittany? Like,
Yes. No, for sure. Yeah, I could tell I disappointed my boss at the time. That was upsetting because we had a really great relationship. I respected him so much, and he's still successful to this day. I can't recall what my parents thought since it's been like 14, 15 years ago. I don't remember having that conversation. I will say, Amy, yes, I'm a woman of faith. I love Jesus. But at the time, I was in a faith ecosystem that was highly, highly conservative. What I mean by that is, I remember some of my family kind of being like, oh, sweet. Now Brittany could kind of be at the stay at home mom, and the Dan and her are going to have some kids. So I think maybe there was more support emotionally than more like, don't be a quitter and da 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 da. So that could be just a story I'm telling myself, but I don't see myself as that person. I just love work. And I love that feeling of having that creativity and that autonomy in that way. So I was unemployed for about 6 months, and there was no way I was in a mental space to enter another workplace. I remember that summer I laid out by the pool at our apartment complex. Again, very blessed that I did not have to go back into work, or I had the luxury and the privilege to quit. And after I laid in the pool for like the summer, I started doing like creative hobbies. I would bake bread, I would do all the domestics. I tried to get back into painting because I was in art club in high school. And then the other thing I did is I'd always buy candles. So I remember buying like a candle making kit. I'm like, oh, you can make candles. That's kind of a fun hobby. Maybe I'll try soap too. I don't know. So I ordered a candle making kit, and I really enjoyed that. I loved the creativity of mixing the fragrances and picking the fragrances and mixing them with wax. And then I got really creative with it because I would go to these antique malls or vintage malls, and I would find like old teacups, old Folgers tins, blue mason jars, and I would just turn those into candles instead of just a jar candle. I thought those were really neat. And after doing that for a while, about 6 months went by, I talked to my husband. I said, hey, I think I'm ready to go back to work again. So I was sprucing up my resume, looking at jobs, applying to jobs. And then I had this thought to myself. And at the time, this is 2014, the maker movement was really big. So websites like Etsy.com were becoming really popular. And I had this thought to myself, I wonder, this candle making bit is really cool. I wonder if I can sell candles online, maybe I could work up to the salary I was making at Target. And I talked to my husband about it. I made a little business plan, not unlike I'd make in business school, and thought to myself, yeah, I think I could get there in 3 to 4 years. And I think we can make that financially work. He looked at it, we talked about it, and the startup costs were really low. And I thought to myself, you know what? If this fails, then I'm just stuck with a couple $1,000s worth of candles. I mean, I'll use those and then I could go back to work anyways. Like, we're not investing our life savings here. Like, can we make this work? And we decided, sure, what the heck? Why not?
So you were applying for jobs, but also kind of considering
Yes.
just giving it a go with making some
Right.
candles.
I eventually just decided to do my own website at the time and build my own email list and start a social media account. I honestly probably would have had more success if I had done Etsy early, but I did not decide to do that for whatever reason. But that's the start of like, I guess, choosing to be an entrepreneur. I say that because it wasn't like a very intentional thought. It was just more like, I make these candles, these are fun. And I think other people would like the smells too. And let's see what happens.
In your mind, was it like, I am going to build this amazing antique candle company. It's going to be great. I'm going to have employees. I'm going to ship all over the world. Or was it, let's make some candles and see how it goes and
It totally
kind of
was.
wing it?
Yeah. Amy, it may not surprise you, but it was more the wing it. I will say there were written plans. So I didn't just but in my mind, I was like, hey, if this kind of works, I could maybe work up to the salary as make it target. And I would probably need a few, part-time employees, candle makers helping make the candles because of the volume I have to be doing. So I did kind of imagine like a small space that would be rented out, some cool historic space. We'd make candles, we'd ship them, we'd have a great time. We'd design new fragrances. And eventually we got there and I'm like, okay, now what? Like, I didn't think past that.
Tell me, I'm just curious. Number one, did you start making candles and selling them prior to like branding your company? Or did you, first thing was, let's name this company?
Yes, I had a brand before I started. The company used to be called Antique Candle Works. And I just designed my own logo pre-Canva in like Adobe, made this really ugly like flame on the eye part of the antique. I mean, I have one like original candle at work. And sometimes when like new employees are coming on board and I'm giving them tours, whatever, I'm like, look, this is what the candle looks like. And they're like, oh, wow, good job.
Yeah, right. That looks great. So you got the brand right, Antique Candle Company. Talk to me about how you transition from making candles at home to getting your first like space where you really start to see some volume pickup that requires the overhead.
I made candles in my kitchen and then eventually that ran out of space and I actually moved to my basement, very non-glorious, but the basement was big. It wasn't finished, but it worked. I think somewhere in 2015, it was just too much in the basement and I found this really cool old space. Not great, but it was like, I think it was $900 a month in rent. It was right in the town. And again, I don't have any business partners. I don't have any employees. And so my brother was living with me at the time and me and my husband. And I just talked to them like, hey, you guys, what do you think? I think we're ready to afford this. What do you think? And they're like, don't do it. This is a bad idea. Yeah, I remember taking that risk. So I'll never forget signing that first lease. I'm like, well, I'm on the hook. Like if this business doesn't make money, we're going to have to afford $900 a month. And I don't know how we're going to do that. But I did it. And that really helped. It gave me more space for storage. I was able to buy more supplies to increase the margins on the candles. I was afraid of hiring employees at the time. Amy, I know you come from the HR world and they don't teach you this stuff in business school. What I mean is, okay, if I agree to pay somebody an hourly wage, I know that taxes are taken out because I was an employee, but I don't know how you calculate how much. And then I don't know where you send it to. There's just all these things
that nobody tells you about that
you're
you have
afraid
to
of messing
do.
up and getting in trouble with the government. And so I was reluctant to hire an employee until I absolutely needed it. And my brother kind of like helped out beforehand until I got to that point.
So your first employee was part-time or full-time? And what was their job?
My first employee was part-time candle maker. I ran some Facebook ads, got some really great applicants, interviewed her, hired her, and she worked about 20 hours a week.
Isn't she still with you?
She is, yeah. She's
right.
As of the time of this recording, she is. It's been 9 years we've worked together, but she worked 20 hours a week and she was a Purdue student. And that freed up 20 hours of my time. And I greatly underestimated how valuable that would be. And that gave me time to work on our marketing, growing our organic social media, focusing on our email list. And every time we increased production, I would hire another part-time candle maker. It was the easiest part of the business to train somebody on how to do, teach them the recipes, the quality control components, and then produce the candles.
So I imagine that signing the lease was kind of the moment of, that's kind of our oh shit moment. Like we're doing this. We are
Yeah.
signed on the dotted line. There's no turning back. We have
Yes.
committed, right?
Yes.
And then that second gate, we've hired an employee. Now we're responsible for another person's
Yes.
income and how they help sustain their livelihood. There's
Oh,
so
yeah.
much like
There's
responsibility in that, right?
so much responsibility.
Yeah.
I think when I got up to like 6 or 7 employees, I really started to feel the burden emotionally. I don't know how else to put it. And to where it's like, okay, I need a safety net in the bank account at all times. Yes.
Yeah. Just to make sure, right?
Just to make sure, just to
Just to
feel
make
better
sure.
about myself and the business.
Yep. Tell me about a mistake that you feel like you've made or something that's happened in your business that you're willing to share, that was kind of a very big aha moment. I mean, every single entrepreneur and business person, we're all human. We make mistakes.
Totally.
But as an entrepreneur and a business owner, tell me one that's been impactful that kind of shifted how you think about business and how you operate.
This is maybe year 6 of owning Antique Candle Co. March 2020, we knew a shutdown was coming, and I immediately felt this overwhelming burden as the employer to, we don't know when we're coming back. I don't believe in the 2 weeks. And some of these people had bought houses, had bought cars. At that point, the business, I think I had about 25 to 30 employees. And I felt really responsible to make sure that we could show up. I had calculated our value of our inventory, both in raw materials and finished goods. And I looked at our cash reserves, and I just had this overwhelming thought of, okay, here's the shutdown. The shutdown's in 48 hours. I need to convert as much of this into cash as fast as possible. And I don't have a choice. And I did that. And the way I did that is I ran some type of flash sale for our customers. We had a huge social media following. We had a huge email list at that point. And I think we sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of candles. So many candles, Amy.
Wow. Just from that flash sale.
Just for a flash sale. And
wow.
I gave my team no heads up, no preparedness. I said, here's what's going to happen. Here's how long we have to do it. We are going to fulfill these orders before the shutdown, before the government sends us home. And they're like, okay. And it worked. We were able to liquidate almost all of the candles, but I underestimated the amount of work substantially. And what I mean by that is people were working almost around the clock. And at one point I realized the workload was so high, I think maybe 10 or 12 hours in. And I said, hey, tell your spouses, call your friends and family, get them in here, da-da-da-da. We had people working like in the middle of the night, packing candles, making candles, trying to meet this deadline, all just so we could have this liquid cash reserve. And there's this one employee that she still works at Antique Candle this day, and she's one of the most jolly, positive, cheerful coworkers that I have. She loves the Lord. She is just an incredible person. We were all so tired, and I just remember how short she got with me. I'll never forget it. It was like in the middle of the night, and she just got so snippy with me. And in that moment, it hurt. It deeply hurt.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was like a snippy comment. I don't remember exactly what she said. I can just remember her face. I can remember we were standing, and I can remember how I felt. And at that moment, I had realized I had demanded too much from my team. And I felt really icky, and it felt wrong. It felt like logically, business-wise, this is the right thing to do. But on the human level, you're asking too much. They're so tired. They're so scared. They're working too fast. And in a manufacturing, like even though it's light manufacturing, that just felt horrible. We did it. We got them out. We got the cash and reserves. No one was furloughed. But 36 hours of that, it was horrible, Amy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recently gave this talk at an HR conference, and the talk is really about crisis management. And there being kind of 3 pillars, if you will, or kind of 3 legs of the stool is how I was framing it, which is having the right kind of technology and or automation and process in place as one leg, right? The other leg being trust amongst your team. And the third leg being you've got to have really strong leadership attributes. I'd say at all levels, but particularly at your people leading levels. And if you can have all of those legs of the stool, you can kind of get through most hard things, whether it's a personal crisis or an operational crisis in business. And you were foreseeing a crisis coming, and it sounds like you got the processes down, you had the team trust, you had the right leadership. I mean, just kind of framing it from my own perspective based on your story, that even though people got snippy and you realized mistakes were made, you got through that because you had all three legs of the stool. If you didn't have the trust already built within that team, it very likely could have blown up in your face in a really horrible way. It's not to say it wasn't difficult. People were getting snippy. They were tired, maybe cutting corners in some ways, but you got through it, right? Because you had those three legs of the stool, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that moment sticks with me. And so I notice I'm a little bit more emotionally attuned as a leader in what I say and how I say it, and just how much is appropriate to ask from a team. Like, truly, how much is appropriate to ask?
Yeah, well, we're all learning. It's important to share those types of mistakes, because if we don't share our mistakes as leaders, our employees will hide theirs too, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great that you are just saying,
Yeah,
man, I could have done that better. That's how we learn, right? So
it
I think
is.
that's great.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about the process of making a candle, just because I'm so intrigued. You've got this
Yes.
entire company. You have clearly have a very well managed and robust manufacturing process. So I'm not asking for like, tell me each step in the manufacturing, but I'm curious about like, in general, how did you even know where to even start with manufacturing?
Long story short, I did it, and neither did anybody at Candle at the time. When we were trying to figure out, okay, we know how to make 500 candles a day, but okay, how do we make 2,000 candles a day? And you can't make 2,000 candles in one single day the way you make them in a kitchen. Like, it just doesn't work. We had to hire a manufacturing consultant to come and work with us for a year. Like, what part do you invest in and what part do you not? Are there faster ways to do this? Are there not? That was kind of like really key to that. I actually have a candle here. This is the mason jar candle. This is actually pineapple coconut, but this is like a mason jar candle. And this was kind of our bread and butter. It's like the perfect size, but making candles is quite simple. I mean, every candle has a wick, and hopefully your wick is centered. It burns evenly. There's some type of wax base and fragrance in it. And then if it's a container candle, a jar, and then a lid.
I'm curious about this. How do you select and name your fragrances? I always think that would be like a fascinating and really like super fun
Yes.
process.
The way we select fragrances is actually really fun. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. For us at Antique Candle Co., we like to start the conversation with our customers, our candle lovers, either on social media, on our email list. For example, spring, we like to think of fruity or clean scents. Hey, what do you guys think? We narrow it down. Maybe we're thinking something really peachy or something really citrusy. And then we'll work with our fragrance houses at sending us 15 to 20 different samples. And then we will test that with our recipe. We use soy wax for our candles. It burns cleaner, it lasts longer. So there are some certain recipe parameters around that soy wax base. And we'll go from there. There's all kinds of testing, Amy. We call it hot throw testing and cold throw testing. So if you think about it, with a candle, when you're shopping for candles, you smell it before it burns. It's giving off a throw, and that's called a cold throw. So how the candle smells cold. And then you light the candle in the room, let it burn for a few hours, and that's called your hot throw. And sometimes the cold throw and the hot throw can be a little different, but you want to do testing. We do testing at our candle factory for both. One of the perks of being an Antique Candle Co. employee is you can sign up to be on our panel if you want to help with the testing process in the factory. That's something that I think about 15 of us do. Super fun. Sometimes we'll narrow it down to 4 fragrances, and then we will invite our customers to become candle testers. And that's a paid experience where they actually will burn those 4 candles in their home to help narrow it down to the winning candle that eventually launches on our website. which is really neat.
That's awesome. So you're shipping out these candles to a handful of customers and saying, here, 4 cents we're choosing for spring 2026. Tell us which one you
Yes.
love the most. And that's the one we're going
Yes.
to go with.
Yes. And since we actually have anywhere for a candle, we call it a candle testing round. We have anywhere from about 3,000 to 4,000 people will sign up to be a candle tester. And they pay for the shipping and they pay like a discount for the candles. And then we'll send it to them and we'll go from there. It's so fun, Amy. It's the funnest job ever.
And then naming them. Like I feel like that's like a whole nother level of
Oh,
then you pick
yes.
the scent and then you've got to give it this cute
Yes.
little fun, creative, catchy name that
Yes.
connects with your brand and your client, but also like resonates with the smell, right? Or the experience.
Yes, it's not uncommon for us to have like 10 to 15 different name options for the same scent. And that's why like testing the candles is so important because you want to like note take what are the notes I pick up on? Because you don't want to name it wrong. You don't want to be misleading. You want it to be as accurate to what it smells like in a hot throw and a cold throw, which is really hard to do.
What's the most like the top selling scent you have for your candles?
Our best-selling candle by far is called Mama's Kitchen. It's kind of one of the most ambiguously named candles, which I always thought was interesting. Mama's Kitchen, I've been making since I was making candles in my kitchen. It has been around for 12 years. It is basically the same recipe. It smells like a baked apple pie with a little bit of pine. So think green apple, cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of butter, and some pine mixed in. Sugar.
I mean, it sounds like I could eat it. Okay. That sounds amazing.
So good. Yeah, it's a bakey scent. It's a year-round candle. It sells so well year-round. Amy, there's only 1 or 2 fragrances that have lasted 12 years because, you make your fragrances, you discontinue fragrances when they start not doing well. And Mama's Kitchen is one of the very few that have lasted 12 years.
That's amazing. That's great. So you're getting ready to head into the holidays. What's your biggest concern, worry, thought? What's on your mind right now as you head into the Christmas season? I imagine this is a big time of year for your company, right?
Making enough candles and making the right candles and getting them out on time. When we order online, we all want to get our shipping notifications as fast as possible. And so while we're making 2,000 candles a day, it sounds like a lot, but in candle world, we're a small company. We are puny. We're a team of about 40 people. We're making the candles. We're shipping the candles. We're responding to customers. We don't have AI doing that. We don't have someone overseas doing that. We do almost all of it, just the 40 of us. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a little village to make that happen. So my biggest concern always is let's make the candles as fast as we can and let's get them out to the customer and the shopper as fast as we can. And can we do it all? Typically we do. And it's always a great year.
2,000 candles a day sounds like a lot to me. I hear you. Small company, It's not a lot. That sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Right?
Amy, you're welcome anytime. Our candle factory is in Lafayette, Indiana. And some days we will do more than 2,000. We'll kind of get up to 3,000, but we like to stick around 2,000 to 3,000. And it is a lot, but there are about 6 or 7 of us working full time.
Do you still go out and get your hands dirty?
Very occasionally. I love it. And I miss the candle making. I actually find myself working in shipping a lot more than I would expect. So I'm usually helping pack orders and getting them out the door. But yes, oh my gosh, every day you leave smelling like a candle.
I love to hear you say that because I think this is the other reality that Instagram doesn't show when we go online and we're like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to start a business and it's going to be glamorous. That's exactly what people really need to hear and understand is that there is a lot of work that goes into it. And even as the owner of the company, the founder and the owner and the person in charge, I am still out here packing candles to get out on time to our customers, right? It's the behind that scenes work that people don't see on the reel, right?
Totally. Yes, Amy, you're so right. And so we started recording this at 11 a.m. So here are 2 things I did this morning as a business owner that, no one's ever going to see. So I filed our business entity report, which has to be done once a year for the candle company. And then the other thing I did this morning is we have to collect sales tax in a lot of states in the US to be able to sell candles to them and ship them to them. So we collect sales tax and then we actually pay those states the sales tax we collect. But we also file sales tax returns. So just like I would much rather ship candles and make candles, but that's not what this morning had for me.
Brittany, that is definitely not on the Instagram reel when people think
It's
about
not on the
entrepreneurship,
Instagram.
but it is the reality. And I just
Yes.
love that you're sharing that, because that is the daily grind. That's the truth. It's all those types of things that you're working on behind the scenes to keep clients happy and keep customers receiving orders. Nobody gets
Yes.
any of that if these behind the scenes operational things don't happen, right?
Yep. Keeps us
So
legal, keeps us compliant, keeps us making candles.
that's right. So I'm curious, what's next for Brittany? What's next for Antique Candle Company? What are you guys thinking about doing next?
Antique Candle Co. is planning on making lots of yummy candles. I would love to see, 8 years from now, Antique Candle Co. can say that we've blessed 1 million homes with our cozy candles and that we're the greatest and most caring workplace in Greater Lafayette. That would make my heart so happy. And there's a part of me that thinks I could start another business someday. I love candles. Candles will always be a part of my life. I love Antique Candle Co. I started it when I was 24. I'm 36. But I have so many other creative ideas and thoughts. So maybe one day I'll be pursuing some of those.
I love that. I love that. And when that happens, we'll have you back on the show and we'll hear all about that part of your journey and adventure, right? That's what it's all about. Is embracing the pivot and embracing the journey wherever it takes us. So I love that.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, couple of quick hits, just kind of some fun questions. I'm just curious. I think it's always interesting to kind of hear different people's perspectives, especially for those that are in entrepreneurship. So, morning person or night owl?
Morning person. My alarm's set for 7 a.m., but I will get up by 4:45 or 5 a.m.
Oh
Isn't
my
that
gosh.
insane? I know. I feel like a psycho saying that out loud, but it's so
wild.
true.
Coffee or tea? Are you a coffee drinker? I mean, I imagine if you're
No
waking up at 5
coffee.
a.m., you got to be a coffee drinker.
I'm not. Again,
No?
I'm a
Oh my
crazy
gosh, you're just
person.
naturally up at 5
I'm
a.m.
so weird. I love tea. I love Earl Grey tea or good
Mhm.
green tea for sure.
great.
I try coffee every few years, and we make some amazing coffee candles and latte candles, but I just can't do it.
My
Yeah.
guess is if you're not a coffee drinker, you might have been on that panel and got outvoted on what to name it or what the scent was going to be. Like some of your employees and
Absolutely.
customers that are like, no, Brittany, you don't even
Yes.
drink coffee. Let us take this one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're right.
Do you like to read? And if so, what book are you reading, or what's the most recent book you've read that you love, you'd recommend?
I just got done reading Sister Wife by Christine Brown. So if there's any Sister Wives fans out there, her book was incredible. It was an incredible faith book. Yes, because she grew up in the Mormon church and she found Jesus by the end of it. It's an amazing book.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up with one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who is considering entrepreneurship or making a pivot out of corporate, and maybe they're in that situation that you were in where you're like 50 hours a week, crazy, metrics and performance expectations, everything's new. What the hell am I doing? What am I going to do next? What would you say?
You're going to be okay and you are loved. You're going to be okay and you are loved.
I love that. Man, we could just spend the next 30 minutes picking that apart. But isn't that so true? I think that that's so important because oftentimes we get paralyzed by just the fear of, not even the fear of what we think is going to happen. It's the fear of the unknown. And we create all these scenarios in our mind of all the things that we could fail on. But I often ask myself this question, which is, it's meaningful to me. I don't know if it's meaningful to anybody else, but I say to myself, why not me? We see tons of people that have success stories. And I use that term a little loosely, depending on what success looks like to each individual person. It's different for all of us. I'm not just talking like money or finances. I'm talking just in general. But I often say to myself, why not me? Like, I could do that. I could do this. I don't subscribe to the idea that success, in whatever way that looks like for us, is only meant for others. It's meant for me too. And it's meant for you too, depending on how, what that looks like for you and how hard you want to work for it. Right.
I love that, Amy. I love that.
Yeah.
It warms my heart.
Yeah. Well, we're all just doing the best we can, one step in front of the other and one candle pouring at a time, Brittany, right? Like, honestly, I think that's just the story of work. And this is why I created this podcast, is that we all have a story to tell. We all have a journey. It does include pivots. It includes those moments where we say, what the hell, is this my life? I think I want to do something different. And sometimes that something different's really scary, but it's exactly what we need to land in our purpose, right?
Absolutely. God's got us.
That's right. That's right. Any parting words, Brittany? Anything else you'd like to share?
Thank you for hanging out. Thanks to everybody for listening if you made it this far. Bless
Thank
you.
you. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out, Brittany. It's great to have you. Appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in to The People of Work. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow along and share it with someone who'd love these stories too. Do you or someone you know have a unique job or an inspiring work journey? I'd love to hear about it. You can find me on Instagram at The People of Work or visit thepeopleofwork.com. And if you're navigating a career transition or just need support in your work life, I'm here for that too. From personal coaching to leadership and HR consulting, I'd love to help. Head to thepeopleofwork.com to learn more and get in touch. Until next time, thanks for being a part of The People of Work.